Outside the oil industry, the figures show the fall in the Nigerian currency, the naira, has hurt the economy. It was allowed to float freely in June to help kickstart the economy, but critics argued that it should have been done earlier to prevent the current mess.
You find that the current economic situation is not coming to anybody as a surprise, in view of the fact that this country has relied, solely on oil for its revenue. The government relies on oil for as much as 70% of its revenue, and for forex receipts for over 90% of its revenue. So where you rely on a single product, of course the risks are there. If something happens to the price of that product, you experience a shortfall. Of course, government revenue is a function of not just the price of oil, but also the output, the production. And of course, in recent times too, we have production has never come near what we put in the 2016 budget. That's 2.2 million barrels per day.
Yes.
We've been doing between 1.4 and 1.9 million barrels. And that has also, rubbed off negatively on government revenue, such that at one point, this country was earning, before this, current situation, this country used to earn as much as $3 billion, per month. But today, our earning is less than $1 billion. Mid 2014, oil price was as high as $112 per barrel. Today, we see it hovering in around $40, $42 dollars per barrel. And as I said earlier on, is a function not just the price, but also the output. So you find that government is hamstrung in terms of fulfilling its obligations. The same with state governments in particular, who find it difficult to even pay salaries regularly. And when you don't pay salaries regularly, what happens? There is weak, people don't have money to spend, and there's weak aggregate demand. And just as John Maynard Keynes wrote, years ago in his popular book, The General Theory on Employment, that unemployment is as a result of weak, aggregate demand. So that is disturbing.
But did you really see this coming, really?
Yes, as I said, all this is tied to the fact that we have relied on oil. It is the crash in oil price and the fall in government revenue generally as a result again of the militancy in the Niger Delta, that has principally led us to this. Let me also say this. Nigeria is not alone in this. This is virtually all the OPEC member countries in Africa, the four of them, Algeria, Libya, Angola, and Nigeria, are in the same boat. And if you also check the worst performing economies in 2016, according to The Economist, you also find, and even Bloomberg, you find oil producing countries, oil exporting countries. Venezuela, topping the list. You also have Brazil, in Latin America. And of course, I'm sure you read that recently, even the Senate of Brazil impeached the president, for doing what? For manipulating the budget and for not doing much to, bring out the economy out of the recession. So OPEC countries are in a similar boat as far as this issue is concerned. So it's not Nigeria alone. And why am I saying this? I'm saying that it's not the creation of, as some people have alleged, of the president. The president didn't bring this about. But having said that, it's also important to admit that certain actions of the government in the past, tended to exacerbate, the situation. The one that quickly comes to mind is the issue of sudden implementation of the Treasury single account. Yeah, the Treasury single account is good. You want to have, inject transparency in the management of government resources. That is good. But the sudden implementation is what is causing some of the effects we are seeing, even in the banking sector. The other issue too that also worsened the situation for us in Nigeria is the delay in the passage of the appropriation bill and in the signing of that budget. Okay, the budget was only laid before the National Assembly on 22nd December, and it was not signed into law until June. So we are only talking about, if you're talking about budget implementation now, we're only talking about July and August. That is why we are not seeing, we've not started really to see the effect of the provisions in that budget, particularly with regard to implementation of the capital component. What we can do as a nation is to, just as what the FIRS is doing now, is to widen the tax base and not to increase the tax rate. The FIRS report speak of an increase in revenue, tax revenue, by over 2 trillion naira. The corresponding period last year was just 1.9. So FIRS is doing a lot to increase the tax, non-oil revenue. The issue of liberalizing the forex market has been done. Yes. Right now, the CBN is operating a managed float system. It's more or less determined by demand and supply forces, although we also know that from time to time the CBN intervenes.
In all of these, there are positives, and that's where the call for diversification sounds louder. Already, there are efforts to improve agriculture, and the government is reforming the solid mineral sector. The roadmap on how to revamp the two sectors were recently made public, and that might be a step in the right direction. Thanks for watching this week. I'm Gloria Umezuke.